Hi there, I'm Chris Devine, and this is Six String World. On the track I was just playing in the beginning of this video, I was playing my Stratocaster, which has been through many modifications, and I'll post a link to the area below for a video that covers all the specs and why I did all the mods to this Strat. Now, you also may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? You strum some chords and that's about it. So what's the big deal? But it kind of proves a little bit of my point, because the tuning for this Strat is now set up to be a whole step down to D, A, C, F, A, D. A complete whole step down from our normal standard tuning. If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. The bell icon will also let you know when I put up a new video. And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up button. And if you want to share it, please feel free. There's a button for that as well. Rhett Schull, who's a guitar YouTuber, if you don't know of him, he did a video a while back, and I'll leave a link to it in the description below as well. And he mentioned that he was playing around with the idea of setting up some of his main guitars into this drop D tuning. Now, this isn't drop D where you just detune your low E string to D and you can pretty much live out your 90s grunge one finger bar chord fantasies. We've all done it. I loved it. I still do it. It's great. But this is a big difference with all the strings going down a whole step. Really changes a lot of things. And, Rhett went through these things in his video, and it reminded me of, at one point, a long time ago, I had this Stratocaster in that same configuration. So, again, about 10 years ago, maybe in 15 actually, I found myself between bands. And with no concrete musical situations happening, I started experimenting with my gear. I wasn't locked down to make sure my rig was configured for a band's particular style or specific songs or needs. So I started playing around a bit. Usually tried different distortion pedals and different amp settings, sometimes different amps, different cabinets, just trying something new to see what could spark something. And one thing I decided to do was drop this whole tuning, as I mentioned. And I was considering, and this is part of what got me to that, was I was considering fronting a band on my own, which was something I hadn't done in a while. One thing I had learned previously, that it's easier to sing over a lower pitch. Not really a hard thing to figure out. The concept is really nothing new. In the 1980s, there were a lot of bands that dropped their tunings either down a half step or sometimes down a whole step, just to make it easy for the vocalist. And when I had this Strat in drop D, it really changed its personality. Obviously, it's deeper. It happens to take a lot of the twang out of single coils, but you still get that snap and bite. With this lower tuning also, less gain goes a long way, meaning it's bigger with more punch than saturation when you go into distortion zones. And that's kind of a nice thing. It gives you a more airy quality than trying to keep layering on gain or even gain stacking, trying to make a bigger sound. In this case, you can back off the gain and the overall tone gives you that bigness. Now, eventually I did find myself in a new band, and I had this Strat set to standard tuning again. And then years later came all the mods, which I mentioned about, and I've been pretty pleased with this Strat overall. And then when Rhett did his video, it reminded me of the benefits of this drop tuning. So I reached out to my friend Adam at AF Precision Setups, and he went to work on it. Now, Rhett also did outline there may be a few steps needed to optimize a guitar for this tuning. And the first thing that I figured I was going to have to do is go from at least one gauge heavier. I went from a set of 10s to 11s, and that also means that the nut has to be adjusted. So the nut had to be cleared out a little bit, not a lot, just to accommodate these thicker strings. Now, on your guitar, depending upon how the nut is cut, this may or may not be an issue. As we went up a string gauge, but down a whole step in pitch, we really didn't need to adjust the truss rod. Again, depending upon your particular instrument, you may need to give a neck maybe a tweak or some proper or even the desired neck relief for your playing. And the next thing was just making sure the string height was also where we wanted it and set the intonation. Since this is a tremolo with a floating bridge, Adam did have to adjust the claw on the back for the desired level, which it's not really an angled setup. I generally like the bottom of the tremolo to be parallel with the bodies, no big angles or any pitches like that. I did also notice that the pickup height needed to go down a little bit just to ensure I wasn't slapping the lower strings against the pole pieces and shorting things out. It happens, especially if you've got low action and high pickup height. You can very easily have the string hit the pole piece and it just goes blap. In some cases, it can even cut out your single or even overload it. So if your amp or maybe whatever, if you're going to an amp sim or something like that, sometimes it clips the signal and cuts it right out. So you might notice that you need to adjust that as well. If you have a stop tail or a hardtail, a quick intonation check might be in order, and as this neck has smaller vintage fret wire, I'm betting if it had larger jumbo frets, string height and a truss rod adjustment would probably be needed. This certainly ends up being a your mileage may vary situation when it comes to setup, but having your instrument set up properly to give you a better response, it'll also give you a better idea of how this tuning can really work for you. If you want to just maybe just detune your instrument down a whole step and see what happens, good, that's fine. If the strings maintain the tension you like while you're playing. I find it that they were with tens, they went down and got very spaghetti-like and very difficult to maintain pitch essentially, and not be able to go out of tune just from pressing down because they were just so loose on that end. So it definitely makes a sense to go up a gauge and do some of these tweaks and basically make it feel like you're playing in a standard tuning, but you're not. That's kind of what you're essentially kind of tricking yourself and the instrument, so to speak, with all those mods. And all these changes really changed the personality of this guitar. In fact, I think it changed a lot of this sound a lot more than all of the other mods. I happen to have a fairly decent number of guitars at the moment, and I can now easily leave this guitar in drop D tuning, and because of that, I'll probably use it a little bit more, especially in my cover band. We do a lot of songs in the key of F, and just having a whole new set of chord voicings in the first position, it can easily fill in things and not step on my singer's guitar playing either. If I need standard tuning, I could always put a capo on the second fret. And what it basically comes down to is you're playing like an open E chord. Well, this is an E chord. This is now a D chord, and a G chord is now an F major chord. So it's not really a big transition. Adjusting to my baritones tuning was a bit tougher as that goes down a fourth. The big issue is reminding myself when I'm playing that this is in drop D, a whole pitch lower. And if you happen to have another guitarist in your band or a bassist that might look to your hand position for a quick check on the key of a song, you might want to also give them heads up as well. But anyways, that's basically what I've found working with this guitar in drop D. It's bigger. There's the fact that it's got a bit thicker, especially with a Strat where it's single coils, that's usually got a little more twang, a little more thinness to it. This fills it up even further. I've got hum canceling pickups in here, and they're a little bit hotter, but they also, they sounded great before, but now it really kind of opens a lot of things up into some lower ranges that still sound really nice and have a lot of definition. They don't get flubby or anything like that, which has been a great thing to check out. And it also kind of makes me feel like I have a capo that went down 2 frets, which is really great. Especially, I've mentioned that my singer and I, when we do some of our cover songs, we sometimes change the key of the song, and sometimes we change the key of the song, and then we put a capo on that key change. The key change is sometimes meant to be better pitch for my singer, but sometimes we use the capo to change the chord voicing so they're easier to play depending upon the type of song, especially if you're playing songs that may have been written on a piano. So that makes a big difference when you can alter, you're not trying to come up with a fingering that is very intricate and may have passing tones you can't get through them. But if you're in a cover band, you got to cover a lot of stuff in a very short period of time and very easily. And sometimes doing those changes, it really makes a big difference in what you can do and what you can't do easily in a song, which is really kind of a cool thing to have that extra adaptability. And this really does give that extra option for a lot of things that I didn't think I would really find a need for, but it definitely, just for playing around with this for like a week or so, it's definitely opened up a lot of things, and I'm really looking forward to using this on a bunch of stuff, as well as using it for original music as well, and being able to go work on some stuff, even from working vocally for myself or anything I'm working on. I can pick up a guitar and not worry about, oh, this isn't a better key for me to work out my parts. And that's a really nice nice feature to have, which is really cool, especially when you have all the tools to do whatever you really want when you're trying to create music. Anyways, I'd like to thank Rhett Schull for doing his video and reminding me of this tuning. I think this might be a YouTube first as well, where a guitar YouTuber is referencing another guitar YouTuber's video without any negative or bitchy or taking some sort of opposition to their presentation or idea. So anyways, I'd love to hear from you guys if you've done some drop tunings, what the results were for you. Have you wanted to try some different maybe some different tunings just to make some chords easier, just open up some more sounds? Please let me know in the comments below of some tunings that you found very useful you're playing. I'd love to hear about it. Anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.